guys can understand. It's kind of confusing for me. Okay, but we wanted to start off with you guys like just talking to maybe like put it into context, but maybe you can talk with your mentors for a minute or two about what your parents do, and then a couple of you can maybe volunteer to give an example.
Wait. Wait.
Hey guys, you gotta listen up, and they just asked you questions, so if you're gonna answer, you need to raise your hand, okay?
Okay, does anyone have an answer they want to share?
I'm awake.
Yes? What's your name?
Awake.
Audrey, that's pretty. Okay, what do you want, or what do your parents do?
My mom works at my school, my dad's a pharmacist.
Your dad's a pharmacist?
Your chair here.
Cool, very cool. What about you? What's your name?
Hey, Molly, go to bring your drink with you once it's done. Alright, let's talk about the question. You ready? Alright, what do your parents do for a living?
All they do is all do.
Okay, what do they do when they go to work?
They never take care of me.
Oh, okay, wow, that's a really important job. Okay, so it sounds like from the jobs that we heard, we have parents working at schools and pharmacies and factories building things. So all of those jobs are pretty, oh, did you want to share one?
All they do
In a daycare? Okay, wow, that's cool. So yeah, and then daycare too. They're all really different. Some are interacting with kids, some are building things, so those are all different. And so it's interesting that each of us have parents that have very different jobs. And that's probably because the job that they have is something that they're really good at. So they do that, and then something that they're not as good at, someone else, like Audrey's mom, does, like a teacher.
Okay, so as you guys saw, there's a lot of different careers out there. Your parents each have a different job. And so they do this because they train and they went to school to get an education so that they could do this particular job. And so they really focus on being the best they can be at this job. And so that brings us to the idea of specialization. It's basically each person does one thing that they're best at.
And so because of that, they weren't as efficient, so they didn't have as much free time because they were always doing something since they had to do everything. But now, since we have specialization, we'll have, like Audrey's mom, teach the kids, and then someone else's dad grow the food. And then we have extra time so people can start working on developing new things, which is where we get technology, and now you've got TVs, and cell phones, and then we have a bunch of farmers who contribute, maybe growing one crop, and they all bring it to the grocery store, which is where you buy it, and so that's how you can get carrots and apples and celery, even though you don't grow them in your own yard.
Yeah, so let's say we had a farmer and a firefighter, and so the farmer, his job is to grow crops and vegetables and sell them to people so that they can eat them. And then the firefighter goes and saves lives and he stops fires. And so if the firefighter were to decide suddenly one day that he wanted to grow vegetables and crops and also save fires, he wouldn't have as much time to save lives and put out fires, and because he would be putting time into growing plants. And the same with the farmer. If he were to decide one day that he wanted to stop fires and save lives, he wouldn't be able to grow as many vegetables. And so because they specialize in their careers, and the farmer grows his vegetables and the firefighter saves lives, they can save more lives and grow more vegetables, whereas versus if they were to do the same thing.
Okay, so one thing, I don't know if you've ever learned about this, how many of you know what an assembly line is? Anybody? Okay. What it is basically, say you're building a car, that's what's in this video. So each person only does one thing. So maybe my job is to put the tires on the car. So I just do that same thing over and over again, and then it moves on and someone else puts the doors on. So I don't have to do all of the jobs. And because of this, I'm able to practice at my skill and get really good at it so I can put the tires on really quickly. And also, it would take a lot to learn how to build a whole car. That's something I could never do. I would never know how to make an engine. It would take forever for me to learn how to do that. But someone out there does, so that would be their job, and I can do something like putting on a tire. So because of this, they just move down the line, and it goes a lot quicker. So we have a little video, and in it you can see that they have machines and people both working together. But the machines only do one job, and the people only do one job. So you'll see there's some words on here, but they're not very important to what we're talking about. But basically just watch how they just do the same repetitive motions over and over again. It's kind of, it goes by pretty quickly, but just lots of people will be like putting on a door or something. So that's all. And another thing is, if you guys see in the video how big this factory is, even just like taking the time to like walk to all those parts, if you had to work there, would take a lot more time, so you wouldn't be able to build as many cars. But you can see the cars just keep on passing through, and the people stay there, just doing the same thing over and over again.
Okay, so as you saw, each of the robots focus on putting a different part of the car together. So one would focus on doors, and one would focus on painting the car, and one would focus on putting the wheels together. But if each of the robots focused on making a car of its own, it would take much, much longer to produce that actual car. And so we actually want to know if you have ever played a sport. And so we're going to give you some more time to talk to your mentors about sports you play or sports that you like to watch. And then we'll ask for some volunteers to share.
Do you like watching these sports?
Yeah.
So would anyone like to share? Yeah.
Basketball.
Yeah, let's go.
Gymnastics.
Basketball.
Anyone else?
Football.
Yeah. Okay. Softball and swimming, okay. Yeah, what do you play? Okay. Anyone else play sports? Yeah.
I play basketball. All kinds of sports.
Great.
And it's hard to kick.
Yeah, it is hard. Okay. Did you have another sport? Soccer, okay. So as you can see, there's a lot of people who play a lot of different kinds of sports. And so some of you, if you really train and work at it, you can definitely be a professional athlete. But with professional athletes, so if you're a professional soccer player, you would focus and train so that you can be a great soccer player. But if you are a soccer player and you train for soccer and basketball, you wouldn't be putting all of your time into playing soccer. And so you might not be as good as you could be at soccer versus if you put all of your time into it, you would be a great athlete and be in the Olympics or who knows.
Yeah, and can you guys think about when you first started the sport, maybe was it kind of hard and you didn't really know what you were doing? Yeah, and so now as you practice more and more, you get better. So the more time you spend on working on it, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. Okay, so also there's specialization in business. So we just want to represent how this can be really important. A lot of big businesses, like maybe a toy factory, think about all of the products that they have. So think about if you were in charge of this toy factory, if you had to make every single kind of toy. If all of you guys in here were going to try to make dolls and doll houses. So here we have dolls and doll clothing and doll houses. So if you were all going to make that, think about all the materials you would need. You would need like body parts to make the doll and the hair. And then for clothes, you would have to have the fabric and like needles, and you'd have to know how to sew. And for doll houses, you have to have wood and maybe glue and possibly nails and a hammer if you could do that. But those are all really different things, and they're really hard. So if you had to do both of those things, you wouldn't be able to do so as much because you have to switch off the tools and learn how to use a sewing needle, which are just completely different things. So if you focus on only making the clothes, you would probably get a lot better at it. And then the other person that maybe you were working with could focus on only making the dollhouses. So then again, like if you're specializing in it, the more you do it, the better you get. So you become more efficient, and this way you can dedicate all of your time instead of having to learn how to do many different things and using a bunch of different resources. Because if you own your own factory, you have to buy all of the supplies to make all of those things instead of just sharing with other people.
And if you're a toy maker and you're going back and forth between making dollhouses and making dolls, you're going to be constantly changing the materials you use in the process of making those. And so you simply won't be able to make as many versus if you focus on making just dollhouses or just dolls. And so we want to know who specializes in your home, so who completes each task or chore. And so like, talk to your mentors a little bit. So like, who cooks in the house and who mows the yard and who takes out the trash. Okay, so would anyone like to share what chores they do or their parents do? Yeah. Okay, great. Anyone else? Yeah.
I do the dishes.
Okay. Great. Okay, so as you can see, everyone kind of does their own chore because if you were to do all of the chores in the house, you wouldn't have time to do anything else. So imagine if your mother was cooking dinner and doing dishes and taking out the trash and mowing the yard and making all the beds and doing laundry. She wouldn't have time to do anything else. And she also wouldn't be able to be as good at these chores because she would be focusing on so many activities. But if your father were to say, do the laundry and mow the yard, and your mother cooked dinner and did the dishes, they would both be able to put more time into doing those chores and they would both be able to do them better. So you might have a better dinner and laundry might be done faster.
Okay, so now we're gonna do a little activity. I hope it can be kind of fun. How many of you guys have ever made paper airplanes? Anybody? Okay, so we're just gonna give you a little bit of time, and you can have your mentors help you. And we're just gonna give you some paper, so you can keep making paper airplanes until we tell you to stop. Don't throw them. We're gonna keep them up and count them. So we want to see how many you will get done. But I'm just gonna pass out some paper, okay? Sorry. Really? Oh, just so you've got two mentors to help you. I bet you can do it. Really? I have never seen you do that. Never been. Oh, so you want to?
That's why
Yeah, it's been a while. He's on this side. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you guys run out or anything, I'll put a pile in the back.
Alright, did you go or doing?
If for some reason anyone wants to run out, I don't know if you can get there.
paper airplane.